Welcome to the Top 200 podcast with your host, Herschel Foran.
What's up, everybody? It's Herschel Foran from High School Top 200, and this is the Monday Morning Meeting. Welcome back. We're going to get through a lot of the stuff in the first week, and it's been so awesome that the first week of rugby is out of the way, the first week of games, and everybody's seasons are sort of starting to begin. And it's real cool. We've had some massive upsets, which are going to change a lot of things, and we're actually going to get probably a pretty different looking top 50 this week with some new teams coming in. The top 100 this week is going to be really different with some of the games over the weekend where I guess teams from the top 75 to 100 are really going to start organizing themselves as well. Like I've been able to look over in the past, I'll look over from last year and see some of the guys that are returning, some young guys that are returning, sort of stepping up into the leadership role, and then seeing how they're being able to adapt themselves to the leadership role, which is not an easy thing. So it's not like start to think that stuff's going to be easy for those lower teams in that top 75 to top 100. A lot of that is based on leadership and how these young guys come back from last year and then sort of provide their leadership and for the team to step up in those ways. And so those things can be really interesting because they don't get a lot of much attention, but in terms of how teams jump up and sort of perform is based on their best players really performing. And like, just if you don't know, and the teams from about, I would say 70 to 100, the shift in talent in the team as a whole is pretty big. Like they're really good players, are really good, and then the rest are just, a few steps down. And it's just kind of how it is. It's kind of how it is. It's just the way that it's made up in those teams. But with the first weeks out of the way, it's shown a lot of those kind of things that have happened. So yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that kind of stuff as well and how that's happening. But like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff, notifications, turn on notifications, all that kind of stuff. Please comment, give me your opinions, give me some questions, throw out some scenarios, all that kind of stuff. We're going to, I'll talk about my Gisborne trip later, but we'll look at I'll just get into this league thing, all right? And I think it's kind of unfair, and we'll just talk about the Hamilton boys thing because that's kind of how it brought this subject back up. It's not like a new subject, and people are writing in the comments, it's like, this is not a new thing, it's kind of old. But I think there's like a kind of an understanding with it that goes along with it too. And I'm not the only one of this opinion. A lot of people have this opinion, but people have asked what I thought about this, and so I have no problem with schools like rugby schools, or quote unquote what you would call traditional rugby schools, saying no to having league players in their first 15 playing league as well. And for Hamilton boys, and we'll just talk about Hamilton boys, I think if you think about how much training they do, how much preparation they do, and this is not even just preparation just on the week, but preparation on weeks leading up to it, preseason, and I think people forget that when you go to Hamilton boys, and I think that the coaching is smart like this, where they talk about it, is that they don't really have that many preseasons, and they sort of look beyond just the rugby season itself. They have maybe 3 preseasons. Then after their season is finished, they then have sevens, and then they have touch. And most of those boys all come from the first 15. So just to add another thing on top of that, the boys wouldn't even be able to handle that, to be honest. Even with those three things of first 15, sevens, and touch, your boy's going to be wasted by the end of the year. That's just a lot to pick up, especially with the way that they train. Now, if you were a league player trying to go to Hamilton Boys and then play league at the same time, if you're giving yourself, let's say that they do a Monday morning session, Monday afternoon session, have Tuesday break in the afternoon, but they train in the morning on Tuesday, and that would be like weight training, something like that. Then they do like another Wednesday morning, Wednesday evening, and then a Thursday, let's say a Thursday morning, have a Thursday afternoon off, and then have a little run through on Friday for the game on Saturday. And like, let's say that they have 5 trainings, 5 to 6 trainings during the week. And then you're going to add 2, you're probably going to have to add 2 league trainings to make it 7, 8, and then you have your 2 games on the weekend. Now, I personally don't know, like that can be done, but then how good is the player going to be after like a month of doing that? And this is just while the season's going, not like pre-season and stuff. And if you see the Hamilton Boys pre-season, their trainings that they do is pretty hard. It's pretty hard, because Nigel and that are all based on fitness. So most of your stuff is all fitness based. It's about fitness and pace, and especially if you go to Hamilton Boys. But like Nigel doesn't accept you if you come unfit. So you're getting ready in November, which most boys' schools do anyway. Rotorua Boys do the same, Auckland Grammar do the same, Christchurch Boys and Otago Boys and Nelson, they all do the same. All the boys that are switched on and they really want to do this, they know that, oh no, when the season finishes, I'll have like 3 or 4 weeks break and then I'll start in November, have my break over Christmas and New Year's, then start back into it before I actually get into rugby training, which starts in like maybe end of January, February, just before school starts. So like if you're in that mindset of like, I'm serious about this, then you have to go through all that training. Now to even ask a boy to do all those things, that's pretty hard, especially at Hamilton Boys or these bigger rugby schools. That's hard. It's hard to do, and it's hard to ask them to step up every time and then every week, and then actually play a really good game on the weekend. Now, in saying that, like, let's say that they do this, and then how are you going to deal with injuries? Like, if you get injured in league and you don't have anyone that can fix you in league, is he going to go to rugby and get fixed? Or are you going to use your league contacts to get fixed? Because I know at Hamilton Boys, you're definitely not going to go to league. You're going to want Hamilton Boys to try and help you out with that, because they've got all the contacts. They've got everyone that needs to, that is there to help the boys. And I mean, your standard of training, and this is the other thing, your standard of training in first 15 rugby, especially at Hamilton Boys and big rugby schools, you're like on a professional level. The way that they structure their trainings, the information that is given, the discipline and the strategies and all that kind of stuff is all at a higher level. That's why New Zealand rugby at first 15 level, you ask a lot of your player, but then you also deliver and when it comes to games. Is because you're asking so much and you've dedicated so much to go, hey, we're asking for your commitment and dedication so we can play like this and we can be the school that we want to be, so we can get the results at the end. And it's not just Hamilton Boys, it's everybody. Now, being a Hamilton Boys player comes with a lot of responsibility, as well as, and if you're from Hamilton, you already know this. Like, from Hamilton and your son is already going, yeah, I want to make the first 15, you already know what it's going to be, especially if you've been there since year 9 and you've seen your first 15 boys around school and what they do, and that's your goals to get there. It's like, yeah, you already know the commitment that these boys are putting in. You should be able to then identify as a factor. It's like, okay, there's going to be some sacrifices that come with this. when they give these sacrifices, that's how, this team becomes the team that they are, because everyone's willing to sacrifice. Now, if you're playing two sports and you're sacrificing for one, but you get injured in the other one. Now, I don't think that people understand. I think when they hear this and they go, oh, he wants to play league and he wants to play rugby. How many of you out there know what club rugby looks like, club rugby league looks like here in Hamilton and in the Waikato? I don't even know. Like, ask yourself for real. Like, if you disagree with the fact that boys should play two sports as well, like, and if that's your mindset, and you're angry at this fact that this Hamilton boys been caught out, it's like, oh, that's not fair, they should do that kind of stuff. If you have that mindset, do you actually know what it looks like here in Hamilton as a rugby league competition for like under 18? Because if you don't, and you went to their trainings, and you went to their setups, and you went to their games, 100% does not compare to what Hamilton Boys has. Does not compare what St. John's has. Does not compare to what St. Paul's Collegiate and what St. Peter's have here in Hamilton. In terms of just training. They don't have the commitment that everybody else does, that these boys' schools have. They don't have the structure around it to help out these boys. And I mean, I used to play for Cobb under 15s before I started playing first 15, and we barely had trainings. We kind of just turned up. 18s, under 18s is kind of the same. So like, if a kid really wants to play rugby league, and he doesn't want to give up rugby league, and he's just like asking why, it's like, cool, okay, then play third 15, play 4th 15, and then go and play club rugby. If that's really what you want, and league is your sport, and you're hard out into league, and your family's hard out into league, and blah blah blah, then play league. That's fine. Hamilton Boys is not us telling you can't play league. They're saying that you can't play first 15 and play league. And most sports in most sports in schools, if you're playing for the top side, you're usually not allowed to play any other sport either. That's not like a surprising case, because you've got commitments by coaches, you've got commitments by parents, you got commitments by the people in the kitchen, you got commitments by the school itself giving the resources. Like, all these guys are giving their commitment to your team, and they're doing it because they want to be the best and want you guys to have everything you want. And then you want to come wasted, too tired, too lethargic, too beat up, you're not performing your best, and that's not what they're volunteering to do, because remember, it's all volunteer work. Now, to me, it's just like, if there's so many teachers out there volunteering to help out, volunteering to take the team, volunteering to be physios and be, medics, and drive, be in the management team, why should you play two sports and give 50% to both of them? Because there's no way you're giving 100% to both of these sports. To me, league has not even done what they need to do to provide their best players with the best backing and training for these guys to be the best and prepare them for the next level. If you think that league has done everything that they've done, that they've anything that they could do to set up all these boys, you name me a program in school level that is dedicated 100% to doing this. Because the only school that I know is St. Paul's College in Auckland. That are 100% dedicated to their league program. And here's the thing. St. Paul's College, as leaguey school as they are, have brought their team, have worked their team their rugby team from second division by the 1C and 1B into the 1A. And they purposely did this so that their boys who are league players get 100% the best competition every single week. They're not saying, boys, you guys are all going to be rugby players. Not at all. They're pretty much saying, boys, we're going to use rugby. We're going to use first team rugby to keep each other at this high level, so that once you guys finish here, you guys go play for the Storm, you guys play for the Warriors, you guys play for St. George, you play for Broncos, and we're going to have, your intensity is always going to be at a high level every single week. You're not going to have weak games every single week. It's going to be no weak games for you. Now, for a dedicated rugby league school to then go into a first 15 rugby competition for the sake of their boys, that's exactly how it should be done. They don't care about the sports itself and what it is. They're going, oh no, we're just trying to get our boys at the best competition they can, so that when they prepare to go to league, they go to league. Most boys in New Zealand that I know that are signed with NRL contracts are all playing first 15 rugby. And you know why they're playing first 15 rugby? And this is from recruiters and scouts that I work with, like on a yearly basis. They say to the kid, and I've also told kids, hey, don't go to Australia. Stay here at first 15 rugby, get all the top training that you can, get all the top games that you can, stay at this high level. When you're finished and turn 18 and you're finished school year 13, got all your credits, then go to Australia. They're not saying don't play league. They're just saying stay in first 15 rugby because the quality is higher here. NRL scouts are telling their kids, yeah, we're going to sign you, but hey, just stay in first 15 rugby. Don't come to Australia. Don't move your whole family to Australia. It's ridiculous. Stay there, get the professional coaching that you can get in high school rugby. Keep it the standard of saying, we know what first 15 looks like in New Zealand. Like, that's great, that's massive. Stay there. You guys have got really good coaches there, you got really good rugby programs there. They give you everything that you guys need. When you're finished, we'll just come over and critique you a little bit, just so that you're there on your league status. And then they take them over for, those holiday programs during the year. So like, even league itself is not saying don't play rugby. What they're saying is stay in rugby until you finish and then leave. Go back to NRL. Rugby itself, and in terms of like boys' schools, are not trying to convince boys not to play league. They're just saying while you're playing rugby here, you're playing rugby. You can't play rugby in league. But when you finish school, you can go and play rugby if you want. And that's for you and your parents to decide when you're finished. If rugby comes to you and says, hey, we really want you to stay, we really say, yeah, then make your decision with your parents. It's got nothing to do with people trying to trick you or anything like that. Look at Caleb Speetle. He from Hamilton Boys last year, New Zealand Secondary Schools 2 years in a row, went and played for the Titans. Yeah. He may have wanted to play league the whole time that he was here at Hamilton Boys, but at the end of it, he just decided, yeah, I'm just going to go play Titans. Cool. I don't see this big uproar from rugby saying, hey, what are you doing? Because you can't force a kid to stay here. You can't force a kid to stay in a sport that they don't want to play. I mean, look at Etienne Nana. He didn't want to play league. He didn't want to stay signed with the Warriors, which is kind of like surprising that the Warriors have kind of, in a way, brought this up where it took them so long just to break a contract from a kid who was 18 who didn't really want to play for the Warriors or the league, and they had to go to court. It's just strange. It feels strange. Like, it feels strange that they're bringing this up now, because they're really saying, like, no, you're going to play league even though you don't want to. We're just forcing you because that's what a contract says. Instead of giving this guy some grace as a teenager who signed for so many years, it's like, hey, it doesn't feel like, what you guys are putting out now. And most of these guys as well, like, people talk about kids and they go, yeah, he's been a leaguey his whole life. Yeah, you're pretty much what your dad is. You're pretty much what your dad says he wants you to be. If your dad's a leaguey, you're definitely playing league. Until you get to an age where you're just like, oh, Dad, I kind of don't really want to play, or like, can I just go and play rugby for a bit? Like, my mates are all there, or like, and like, most kids are always going to play rugby or rugby league their whole life. When they're younger, you can do that at under 9s. You can do that under 11s. But once you start getting older into, 14, 15, and you're really good and you've got a lot of talent, at some point, if you're not going to try out for first 15ers, like, that's what comes with it. There's a dedication and a commitment to not just you and your mates or your coaches, but a whole school behind you and the staff behind you and parents and stuff like that as well. Like, that's what comes with it. And I don't understand where this comes from, where they're trying to say that they're trying to keep boys in rugby and not going to league. Because at some point, and like, I got to be honest, like, when you look at league signings, and they've actually done really, really good. The NRL has done really good in stopping these rogue agents that have gone around. And I've met a bunch of them in the past. When I first started, and I didn't know the difference when I first started, what a rogue agent was and what an accredited one was, and ones that are not accredited but are actually really good, and like, you can really work with them and they're not dishonest and stuff. But then I've met some that are really dishonest, and I've kind of been able to, like, I've got guys now that are in league where I can go, bro, do you know this fella? And then I go, yeah, just stay away from him. Or they go, do you know this guy? And they go, yep, well, he's not accredited, but he's really good. Like, he's really good to work with. I've got a lot of guys like that. League used to be really, really bad. Really bad. And they used to be really ruthless in the way that they did it. And it really did give league a bad name, 15, 20 years ago. 15 years ago, it gave league a really bad name because there was just so much of it and they couldn't control it, all that kind of stuff. And back then, the way that they treated it made it look really dishonest and seedy in the way that they would get kids and parents to sign. Now it's gotten a lot better that you have a bit more background on a lot of these guys and what they can do and can't do and what they can and can't say and all that kind of stuff. And so when I've worked with these guys, I work with guys that I know of and that I trust, and then I work with them every single year. Like, and even to this day, I'm still working with them and identifying talent, all that kind of stuff too. So even on my part, I'm not. Even though I do a first 15 page, I don't care about first 15 or NRL. I care about the kid. It's always been my standpoint. It's like, oh, you want to play league? Cool, go and play league. You want to play rugby? Stay in rugby. Seal Cully last year, like, you could play rugby or league. He chose league. He was like, yeah, he's a league boy. His dad probably brought him up as league boy. He went to St. Paul's College and played league and played rugby, and then he thought, yeah, I'm going to stay with it. Even though, and I bet he got a lot of contracts too. I bet he got, sorry, I'm not saying I bet. I know that he got a lot of stuff his way, and I know that he was like just really keen on league. It's like, yeah, cool. You choose what you want to do, especially as an 18, 19-year-old with your parents and backing and things like that. It's like, yeah, no one can really force you to stay and do whatever you want. If they're throwing money at you, that's still like part of the decision. That's not a forcing thing. It's a negotiation. And that's still you choosing, okay, how am I going to do this? Most of the time, you just tell the next person that comes with you with an offer, is like, oh, well, rugby offered me this much money. Can you offer me that much money? Now, if it's based around money, it's like, cool. Like, do your work, man. Get your agent to do his work and go, hey, if rugby's offering me that, tell the league to offer me this. If not, then find me a club that can offer me this. And if the agent can't do it, remember, you're the boss. Players, you're the boss. Parents, you're the boss. Fire your agent if he's not doing a good job. Islanders, fire your agents. Maldives, fire your agents. They work for you. It's not the other way around. But to say that rugby presses players to stay in rugby, there's no way they can do that at all. That's a you feeling. That's got nothing to do with rugby. Rugby can ask and ask and ask. It's got nothing to do with them. You just do what you want to do. Going to a school like Hamilton Boys High School, Rotorua Boys High School, Christchurch Boys or whatever, or even Auckland Grammar, if they go, well, if you want to play rugby here, then you can only play rugby. You can't play first 15 and then try and play club. And I wouldn't want to play club here in Hamilton anyway. It's such a low grade of rugby league. And any of you boys here from Hamilton that are listening to me, if you want to have a go at me, and then prove it, because I bet you cannot. I bet you cannot prove it. I'm actually annoyed at Hamilton and Waikato and the way that they have their league program, because we have so much talent here and so much boys that want to play league. Most boys, to me, and in my opinion, turn away from league because the structure's not set up properly for them. They get to trainings, no one turns up. They get to, games, and it's like unorganized. The ropes aren't even out. Things like that. That if you've come from rugby, especially if you come from rugby, and then you go to league and you're like, oh, you guys don't even have tape. Like, oh no, you got to provide your own tape. I was like, oh, but at rugby I get. It's like, yeah, it's kind of what the breaks are when it comes to like going from one to the other. Oh, I don't have any sprigs. It's like, cool. Did you bring your own? No, I don't. It was like, we're supposed to bring your own. I was like, oh, usually we have a bag, and it's like, isn't it an Almedic? I was like, no, that's not rugby, bro. Rugby's got that stuff. Your school has got that stuff to provide things like that. All these little things that, it's not just the game, it's the whole setup around it. That's where the school comes into it. That's where your management comes into it. There's like a bunch of things like that that people don't think about that goes into it. If I'm a league player, I'm using rugby. If you're a league player right now and you're in first 15 rugby, just use rugby. Use your first 15 team to stay at a high level of game and still pitch yourself to league teams. But yeah, I'm just playing rugby for now. I play for King's College, I play for St. Pat Silverstream, I play for Nelson College, but I'm a league player, but I'm just playing rugby because it's better. When I finish, I want to play for league. I want to play league. I want to be in the NRL. It's exactly what you say. Tell your coaches even. Tell your coaches like, oh yeah, my dream is actually to be in the NRL. I'm just playing here because it's better. If your coaches go, oh, you should stick to rugby, like, oh no, it's all right. I want to play league. Same thing with like league players that have played league and want to stay in rugby. Should be the same thing. In those cases, it's more your dad and your uncles. Don't play rugby, bro. It's soft sport. Stay with league, like that kind of talk. It's like, yeah, we've all got that uncle and that, that dad that was like, oh, the soft son. I was like, bro, you're useless at rugby league. Mum used to tell me. It's like, my uncles told me that it's like, all you want to do is fight on the field. Those kind of guys. But like, in terms of like, you cannot play first 15 rugby at a big rugby school and expect that they should just accept the fact that you want to play league and I should just be allowed to play league because I want to. It's like, cool. You go and play league and then you can play third 15. Oh, but I want to play first 15. No, it doesn't work like that. Now the other side to this is that, and I understand what Hamilton Boys is like with this, but Rotorua to me have got it right. St. Thomas to me have got it right. And I think other rugby schools should do the same. Because Kelston Boys do it right too. It's like, even though those schools are rugby schools, once nationals comes around for rugby league, let your boys that play first 15 play rugby league. Let them showcase what they can do and go and play league. Rotorua Boys do it every year and they do it so good. They've done it so good. Where they've been able to get boys signed into league contracts, and there's some rugby players that have never played league, only because like their dad's probably just rugby players. Never tried league, or they played when they were like under sevens, and then all of a sudden they're just and then when they go into these rugby league national competitions, and you can get all the best players, and rugby league cannot have like a sour face about this, but they've also got to rely on first 15 rugby too, and they've also got the because the more first 15 rugby players that show up to these national tournaments of these schools, the better quality that league tournament's going to be. And everybody knows it. This is how bad league was for a while, and how much they didn't really care about the top teams in the country when it came to nationals, before first 15 started sending their players over. Under 15's national tournament and rugby league national tournament was on the same time. There were more scouts at the under 15 nationals sidelines for rugby than there were at the nationals for rugby league. I used to be there at under 15 nationals looking around, and then the guys that I would talk to would come, and then they'll go, "Hey, Herschel, like, what's up? Who are you looking at?" I'll be, "Oh, you're looking at this player." And they go, "Hey, do you see that guy?" We have these conversations, and I go, "Oh, well, if you two are here, then who's at the other one?" They go, "Oh, we've got one guy over there. He's just watching. Oh, he'll just give us updates and stuff like that." And I was going, "Oh." And then, like, when you look at it, you'd see all these guys in their polos and tracksuits, all from league, and they're all at under 15 nationals. Now that first 15 are starting to, schools are starting to have first 15 teams. Even Christchurch boys at some point are going to get really good with their league program. That I think they should start making this nationals for rugby league bigger, and holding more schools to come to it, and getting them more prepared to have more teams to turn up, because rugby's tradition, rugby league is not. Rugby is tradition in New Zealand, especially for first 15 and for high school rugby. Rugby league is not. They don't have that showing, and like I've said, they haven't made big steps enough, even outside of Auckland, to make it a tradition. De La Salle is only kind of getting that done now with their rugby league program. Mags and St. Paul's was the biggest matchup for years, but that was kind of only it. That was the only matchup that was consistent for so many years. And after that, like, St. Paul's had meaningless games. Just meaningless games back in the days, when they should have probably been playing first 15 in the first 15 competition, and playing at a high level just to keep their boys up to scratch for when they leave leave school. But rugby league is getting up there. Rugby league is doing better, and I don't believe that they're trying to stop kids at all. And I don't believe this idea that they're trying to, get them just to stay in rugby and all that kind of stuff, because you really can't. Like, that's not really a thing. You can't do that. And if you're one that feels pressure to do that, it's just like, that seems like a you problem, to be honest. If you want to play league, you're getting pressured by rugby with money or like incentives. It's like, okay, well, that's why you've got an agent, or that's why you've got a phone, and going to your rugby league club and going, "Hey, these guys have offered me this, can you offer me more?" And if they can't, then it's just like, then you have a decision. Basically it. Just like right now, if you're one of these 5-6 guys, like the guy had said that he knows in Hamilton Boys, that was pressured into playing rugby, or like pressured to be staying with the first team but not being able to play, rugby league, and make your decision, bro. That's kind of really what it is. And if you feel it's unfair that you can't play first team rugby, cool. Go to Fraser High School, play first team rugby there, and then go play league. Because I'm sure City Tigers, Cobb, Tarifaro, I'm sure they'll take you. Turanga's, I'm sure, is going to take you. But remember, you only got about 5 teams to choose from. 6 or 7 at the most, depending on how good that year is for under 18s. Again, if you're just playing league because you just want to play league and that's just your favorite sport, but you're not going to get that much out of it, why play league? Unless you just want to play with men, but even that, how many men's teams are there in Hamilton and Waikato? 6? 7? I mean, it can't be more than that. We'll have to join up with like Rotorua and Tauranga or something like that to get a bigger competition. Because Hamilton, which should be like a 12 competition, rugby league city, it's not even close. Like if and I've always laughed at it because like I always talk about it with Hamilton. And I don't want to make this a Hamilton thing, but I've always talked about it. It's like we've only got like 4 solid clubs at the most for league, 4 or 5, and then you get ones that 2 clubs will dwindle in numbers and they have to join together, and then another club will pop up for a year or so, and then that dwindles down in numbers, and then they'll join together with something else, and all that kind of stuff. And so that's usually what happens. But then you've got Hamilton Old Boys, Prems, Bs and Cs and all that kind of stuff. Frankton, Fraser Tech is the same, Hotapu's the same, Varsity is the same, Melville's the same, you got Marist the same. It's like we've got all these clubs that are just in tradition of rugby and the setup of the way that they set up rugby. And it's just like, yeah, you can tell me to sports and Morrinsville sports, like, yeah, we've got all these teams around Waikato who have strong clubs and strong numbers, and they've got a setup that's right. And etiquette at games is always like a big one, especially here in Hamilton where they have so many fights in league, and not in the game. Like I'm talking about the sidelines, things like that. And like I don't understand why these boys from Hamilton Boys would want to play league if it's not going to really benefit them that much. Like if they just care about the game itself, then cool, that's fine, bro. Go play league. Just don't expect to play first 15. It's just not going to happen. But I do think that Hamilton Boys should have a league team, or like a league team of players that don't make sevens or don't make touch. I think that they should have a league team there at Hamilton Boys. But in terms of the year, nah, not at all. I don't think that's a thing. And I think every boys school that have a mean first 15 should have a league team come national times, and they should have like a way that they can like play league so that they can get some of these boys seen as well. But in parts, throughout the years, like no, there's too much commitment from parents and coaches and staff and school and transport and sponsors and all that kind of stuff. It's like it just doesn't work that way. And you parents that are arguing for your kids, they need to play first 15 so that they can get their rep time, and then they need to play league because that's what they want. Like, no, you can't do that. You just can't do that. It's going to be too much for the boy too. He doesn't understand. Boys, you don't really understand how hard that's going to be. Because if you're trying to fight for your league to stay up at a level and your rugby to stay up at a level, guess what else is going to fall? Probably your education. And you've got to, you've got to understand, your teenager's not going to sleep at like 9:30, 10 o'clock. They're on their phone till about 12, 12:30. 100%. And then trying to wake up at 5 to go and do training. And any sports star right now, any sports player, and you boys that are trying to make sports your career, and I'm not just talking rugby, I'm talking basketball and volleyball and cricket and all these other sports that we have. Every athlete's going to tell you that rest, sleep is your most important recovery. Is that you have enough sleep, you have enough rest, and being up at 12:30 at night on your phone is probably not the rest that you're going to get that your body needs. To add everything else onto it, you can't play rugby league and you can't play rugby at the same time, especially when one only offers you just a good time and a good game, and the other one offers you everything else. And at the end of your first 15, you can still choose rugby league. It's still your choice. You haven't handed over your decision and your choice and your free agency based on the fact that you've played rugby and you're going, okay, now choose for me where to go. It's like, no, that's not how it works. You still choose. You and your parents get together and talk about it and go, hey, what do you want to do, son? You want to play league or you want to stay at rugby? Say, I want to get a league. Cool, go to league. That's as easy as the conversation should be, and right now it should be the same thing. Now, I didn't agree that you're pointing out Hamilton Boys and you're telling us like this is something that most of you guys know Ever since, Hamilton Boys has never had league teams. They don't have league teams. They have rugby. That's what it is. And look at the success of rugby players that have come from it. Look at the success the school has come from it. Why would you then want to go and play league? That's just not the way that it's structured. It's not the way that it's set up. They're not a rugby league school that has rugby. They just don't have rugby league. Neither does Auckland Grammar. Most of them don't, but I do agree that at the end of the year, those that don't play sevens and don't play touch, I do think that Hamilton Boys should make an exception. And that's just my opinion. I'm not even forcing them to do that. I'm just saying that should be an exception. I love the way St. Thomas has done it. I love the way Rotorua Boys have done it. I like the way that Silverstream's starting to go. I like the way that Wellington College has all started to kind of think about it and talk about it. And it's like, yeah, because like really it should be about providing the opportunity for your boys. That's kind of what it's supposed to be. Now, if rugby league is that's how you're going to provide it through rugby league for your boy to have another option or have another career, it's like, yeah, then why wouldn't you? I don't understand that side of it. But after, like, during rugby season, it's like, no, just stay with rugby. Stay with the one that gives you a better opportunity to get yourself prepared and to a level that most of the country is at. League just doesn't provide that at all. And the one school that really provided that consistently is now playing first 15 rugby. And their boys are still going to league. Some of those boys still play in league in some certain games. But that's just to keep their league skill up. They're not trying to be rugby players at all. They're not trying to be rugby players at all. They're just using that. And I think it's smart. Yeah, use rugby. All you boys that are signed off NRL clubs, stay in rugby. Stay in first 15. Don't have this meaningless argument about, well, I should be able to play league. It's like, cool, give your scholarship back from that school and go back to your normal school that you're at and play your rugby league. But it's not going to be the same. You're going to come off that field going, that was easy. It's like, yeah, it's not supposed to be. If you're finding something way too easy, you're not really learning that much. You're not gaining much from it. That's why most of these rugby league players play rugby, stay in rugby. That's why almost all your recruiters and all your scouts have told you, do not move to Australia, stay in New Zealand. Stay at that school. They've got a good rugby program. Leave you there. Wait until you're 18, come back over after that. Scholarship's still there. Your contract's still with us. This is where you don't listen to your dads and uncles go, hey, let's all move to it. Like, don't do that kind of stuff. Because for one, you've put so much, like if you're going to move to Australia anyway, and that's just what you want to do, it's cool, that's fine. But don't move for it's like, oh yeah, my son just got signed, he's going to be a big star. It's like, no, you've just put a whole bunch of pressure on your son to now make it. Now it's not like a dream of his, it's like more of a burden. That's kind of what the conversations are now. So it's a burden. To pick up your whole family for your son who's got a contract just like a bunch of the other kids. And remember, there's so many kids with contracts. Not all of them are provided to be like your big time professional. No, this is just a chance and an opportunity. Let him play out the opportunity until it gets to a point where you're going to go, oh, okay, now he's going to do something with it. But don't put all that pressure on him. Don't send him away. So one of the worst things you can do is send your son away to rugby league over in Australia. Especially to uproot your whole family, all your connections, all his memories and connections with everybody. Now you're taking him out of his element before he's even mature enough to know what how to be away from his elements. Remember, like Islanders and Maldives are like family people. You move away from family, it just destroys it. And I'm not talking about family like your mum and dad, brothers and sisters. I'm talking about all your cousins, your nana, your papa, and all that kind of stuff. All of that, I mean family. That's what I mean by family. Your surrounding, your community. Guy at the dairy. People think that guys at the dairies are like not important. It's like, oh, that Indian guy at the dairy, you've seen him since you were like 7. You can still go to the same dairy. Because your mum likes that dairy, your dad likes that dairy, your nana goes there, you go there, you have the same conversation with the guy, he's watched you grow up. People think that those things are like, the same Chinese guy, the Asian guy at the fish and chip shop, same guy. Same family. Your whole community, the same guy that you go to the swimming pool with, the same person that owns it, you still at the swimming pools. Don't uproot yourself in those, and like those kind of things that, when scouts scout you, it's like it comes down to all that kind of stuff. All those things matter. All those things matter when it comes to like guys in the NRL trying to get contracts, and guys who are kids who are trying to get contracts and build on their dreams and stuff like that. And what we can do as parents is like provide all the best things that we can, but also not make it put so much pressure on them to do it. I mean, you got to figure out your kid, like your kid as well. Your kid sometimes asks too much, is a bit of a sook, like moans too much about stuff. It's like just like now, if they're having a problem playing first 15 rugby and not playing league, it's like, well, son, decide. Don't go into bat for your son of something that's been a rule for years. Then you're trying to change it just because your son's like having a hard time. If he doesn't want to play for first 15 rugby and he values league, cool. If he values league more, go play league. That's fine. Just means that you're going to be playing third 15 or fourth 15. And one of those kind of situations. I think I've talked about this too long. Even I'm getting annoyed of it. If you want to play league, just play league. Who cares? If you play first 15 rugby, that's just what comes of it. If you're a league family, and you're both playing first 15 rugby, it's just like, just deal with it. If you don't want to do it, then don't worry about it. Move them on. Because we've got a lot of games. I mean, like, look at what I think everyone's got to, and I was talking about Tower College last year, like everyone's got to figure out, and Tower College is only one, but I'm worried about Wellington Rugby, and I've talked about this before, but I'm really worried about Wellington Rugby. Wellington as a whole. And I'm saying Wellington as a whole, not Wellington as a whole. Because, in all honesty, Silverstream runs that place. I don't care what Scott's College is saying. Silverstream runs that place when it comes to rugby. And at every level, you may get them 1 year on one level, you may get them 1 year in the first 15, for under 14s maybe one time, but consistently, Silverstream runs that place. And everybody else is clinging on, bro. Like that's kind of how I feel. Everyone else is just clinging on. And I've got to do something about that. And then like that's not Silverstream to let up. No, that's not at all. I feel like everybody else should be lifting. Cola's Wellington College, they're doing something similar to that now, where you see a change in their players, you see a change in their grade teams, you see a change in the quality of players that come out. They're still not there, but you can see the change. Wellington College was in a bad place for pretty much for most of the time that I've been doing first thing top 200. The first 3 years was really, really good, and then they just fell off. They'll have a player every now and again, but the team as a whole was just struggling. And now that you have like Rongotai in a really bad place, who have struggled ever since I've been doing this, I think they've been struggling for like maybe the last 15 years now. It kind of feels like since Artie left, like after that they've had nothing. They've just struggled and struggled and struggled. Them losing to Paraparaumu College is probably one of the lowest points for them, and that's not a slight at Paraparaumu College. That's like a pickup for them that they've played that well to get to that point. Tower College winning over St. Pat's Town, and then I think that's worse. The worst thing is that on the Wednesday night when they played Porirua College and the St. Pat's Town boys were there. I don't know if those boys were the ones that were in the team. I couldn't really see their faces properly. But there was almost this arrogance in looking down at Tower College or Porirua College from St. Pat's Town. And those guys that were on the sidelines. And they may be all from Porirua anyway. But man, that victory must have been pretty good when they beat them, for Tawa to beat them. And I've lived in Tawa when I was on my mission for a bit. I stay not far from where the Tawa Rugby Club is, and Tawa College as a rugby school has never been like that. Maybe some years, whatever, but I would say in the last 20 so years, they've never been like a rugby school where they've actually produced really good players like they've got this year and last year, even last year. And I think, that's got to be a discussion of like what's going to happen in terms of. And look, I'm going to write about this anyway, but I'll touch on it a bit right now because, and here's the sad problem, right? The sad problem is that if you look at the Hurricanes under 18s, or if you look at the under 18s rep teams, barely have any players from Puriru out of in those teams, barely ever. Whenever you look at the Hurricanes under 18s, you barely have anybody that comes out of Puriru that goes to a Puriru school or like a Kapiti Coast kind of school. And as much as your school may do good, when it comes to rep season, they're not going to look at your players the same. Because in rugby in Wellington, they're just going to go to the main schools, and if you play for those schools, you look better because you play for those schools. That's where I think Hibs got ripped off. That's where I think Wairarapa gets ripped off. That's where I think Rafkill gets ripped off a bit. That's where I think like Tawa got ripped off. Even last year, some of those boys that used to go to Aotea and Puriru College, they've had these good individual players. I think St. Bernard's is the same way. St. Bernard's, they get ripped off a bit because they have all these players have good individual players, but because they don't have the school attached to their name, they're looked down on. And I understand what they mean because they look at it and they go, well, if you're a really good player but your team's getting smashed by this much points by this team, then you must not be that great. It's like, well, how about he's just at the school that he's at? He just didn't accept the scholarship, or he didn't accept the move. But you still got to take that kid's individual talent and at least bring him into a trial and go, that's why we have trials. How about you just pick out that kid and go, okay, hey, come in. Let's see what you can do. And that team that played, that New South Wales combined team that went down. If you don't see that, I hope there's somebody recorded and they put it up, because I'll put up the game too, and if it's on YouTube, someone send it to me or something, I'll upload it or whatever. But that New South Wales team, that combined team, the one that I went to when they played Taupo College, that team is pretty much a Super 8 team, a 1A team, Silverstream level team. And I wish that team actually came and played Silverstream, because then you would see how good that this Puriru combined team was when they played this New South Wales combined team. And then you look at those players that played them and go, well, shoot, if they're playing this good, then how come these guys aren't more recognised? And that's kind of the question, is like, they're not recognised because they look at the school that they go to and then they go, oh, they probably won't be able to match up a boy from Silverstream. Oh no, they can't match up against these cold boys or these town boys, just based on the school that they go to. But the reason for the trial is like, bring them in for a trial. Trial them, because like that's what it's for. And I think if they open up their mind a bit more to these possibilities that these kids from smaller schools are better players, that you'll be able to get better academy players. You get a better structure of teams. You get all these things that go along with it. And I just don't think that they're looking. And Wellington's not the only problem, because like they do that in other areas too. I'm pointing out Wellington because they're struggling right now. And the only one that's really that successful is Silverstream. Scots is a different story, because Scots have a good first 15 and all the rest of them, Scots, you come out and say it. Tell us how your under 15s is doing, or second 15, if you have a second 15, third 15, under 14s. How many rugby teams do you guys actually have? Because when sometimes you have year 9s and year 10s playing first 15 and you've got 3 year 10s, 2 year 10s, it's like, oh, they shouldn't really have that. It shouldn't be that much. I don't care what the demographic of your school is. It's like, but you should have more than that. Recruiting can only take you so far. But I mean, Silverstream have this. It's got to be better in Wellington. They've got to do a better thing in Wellington to keep all these players and all these guys that are really good at these smaller schools, get them to a point where they can be, a better asset. And when it comes to the 18s, Hurricanes and that. That's why I was always like with the combined school. Like, I think some of those schools should just combine just so they can play better schools. They can play bigger schools and get their players seen playing these better schools. And so that they can make the comparison and go, oh shoot, he's actually, it's like, yeah, of course. Just like I said, like, there are schools that are ranked really low in my school rankings that have really good individual players. And they just do everything for their school. They just try it, and they just don't look as good because the players that they're playing with aren't that good. They're not better supporting role players than the other ones are, but that's just how it is. But it doesn't mean that you have to exclude that kid because there's teams getting smashed by 50 points every week. He can play, just the rest of them are just not as good rugby players as he is. He should still be invited though, but you should be able to still go out there and scout them. You should be out there recruiting them, going, hey, we got the Wellington Hurricanes trial coming up. I want to invite you to this. See how you stack up. We'll bring you in for the weekend. See how that goes. All that kind of stuff. It just never happens though. Games over this weekend, I loved it. Auckland Grammar was a tough one to watch because, New Plymouth came up. I thought New Plymouth was going to get done. They really didn't. I was actually more disappointed at Auckland Grammar than, sort of like proud of what New Plymouth did. But what New Plymouth did was that they brought Auckland Grammar to their level, and Auckland Grammar fell for it and almost lost the game. New Plymouth stopped Auckland Grammar, from doing what they wanted to do, and then Auckland Grammar gave up and tried something different instead of forcing their way into, providing, doing their game plan. Auckland Grammar just stopped when New Plymouth stopped, and it's like they didn't push any further. And New Plymouth is pretty much a new team. They've got such a new forward pack that that forward pack in New Plymouth shouldn't have even had that much freedom and that much power and that much range over this Auckland Grammar side. But they did. Now it was probably bad for Mags because Mags had to play them on Saturday, and then, Auckland Grammar just took it out on them. But that was a really, really, really good, really, really good game to watch. Man, I'm so gutted that we can't watch 1A games, or that people can't see 1A games. Like, hurry up and, 1A, make your money and do a live streaming service or something so we can all just watch these games. That's how I feel. It sucks. Like, I've been told that I can't live stream at games, which I don't. I don't live stream at any game. I just do clips. But they said, yeah, we don't want you to live stream. I'm thinking about picking up one of those VO cameras so that I can take it to games and record them myself, and then obviously provide schools that don't have it with the footage, and then ask if I can put them online and things like that, or cut and edit some stuff. But I won't be able to do that in Auckland, but hopefully other schools will allow me. Going back to Wellington College, I was pretty disappointed with what I saw against Napier Boys. Napier Boys are good though, but I think Wellington got psyched out a bit, got in their own heads a little bit. I didn't watch the second half because I try to watch a half from the 4 games that I was at, but they seemed to fight back in that second half with the scoreline. I thought Napier Boys were going to get 60, 50-60 points, but they ended up playing really good. Wellington ended up playing really good. Silverstream and Gisborne was a really good game as well. Seeing that ending as well. Gisborne lost it for themselves. That's what I reckon. And but Gisborne's got a really good side this year, man. Like I really like the way that they're playing, and they're gonna really turn some heads. And Super 8. Super 8's so hard to play in. You know, Super 8 is so hard to play in. But yeah, I took too long on that thing. Like, there's only an hour in this. I only want to do an hour just because an hour listening to me is probably pretty painful. But we got more things coming up. Top 60 year 11 is going to be changing this week, so look at that on Wednesday. Obviously, go and have a look at the top 100 teams. It will also be changed as well. Also, the week after, we got a new number 1 because number 1 is not at school anymore, from what I've been told, and so yeah, we got a new number 1. I don't know who it's going to be, but it's going to be a new number 1. Heaps of people, like heaps of names through my head too, like really good names that, you know, and like to have some context, I think those top 12 players, like if you look at the rankings now, look at the top 12 players, those are guys that are like heavily considered. And just because number 2 is number 2 right now, when it changes, it might not be number 1. And number 2 doesn't automatically go to number 1. Because it's a week of games. Guys really stepping up in that first week. We're also going to be doing on Wednesday the team of the week. So team of the week, the teams that I actually visually watch. So this is where, like, if you guys want me to watch your game, so your players can be considered for team of the week. I pick a team of the week from the teams that I actually watch and when it's all play. So Tawa, Purirua, I've got that team. I've got that. I've got the games that I went to on Saturday. I've got St. John's, Whanganui game. I've got Samhain. I've got Christchurch, Nelson's. Who are the other ones? A bunch of others. But if you want me to watch your games, you know, add me on Huddle, like add me onto your Huddle pages. The more games I get to see, the more players I get to see, the better it is for your school in terms of ranking, as well as your players in terms of ranking. And then I can promote the schools a lot better. That's kind of what this is about. Just promote some schools, promote players, promote coaches, man. First I think coaches get a bad, you know, they just don't get any love at all. But yeah, let me know. Anyways, love you all. Later, boys.